Welcome to News Nation, where right and left come to be reasonable. First, personal note, thank you very much for all the kind words about my brother. I didn't cover the mayoral election or even comment on it here at News Nation for obvious reasons. And my feelings about my brother and what he should do now, those are personal, not professional. So suffice it to say, I love and support my brother, and I'm not worried about him. Second, I get why many of you were surprised by the Democratic primary results in New York City. I was not. Two reasons. One is that it was a low turnout race that people did not think could go the way it did. The enthusiasm and turnout energy were overweighted for the more extreme candidates, as is often the case. And that's one of the problems with our binary system and with our closed primaries. And there were several radical choices in the mix. Not to mention, and contrary to what was sold by his opponents, Andrew's no establishment guy and the party was not loving that he ran. But that's his case to make, okay? The second reason I wasn't surprised is actually worth talking about here because it affects the entire nation. The Democratic Party is now officially in MAGA mode. We are now on both sides in a period of extremism. The same way MAGA played with the prejudices of white nationalism, you're seeing an identical dynamic on the left with prejudices like tacitly supporting extreme Islamism or targeting Jews. For the right, it's migrants. For the left, it's Jews. It's fundamentalist Christians dominating the right. It's fundamentalist Islamists making headway on the left. I know that doesn't sound like Democrats, but that party is dead. What it will be reborn as, we'll see. And this is not about Muslims, at least not for me. It's about extremism. Yes, Islam is growing in the country. In a few decades, the Muslim population is projected to double in size as a share of our overall population. I do not agree, however, with our president that Islam hates us. I don't care if you're a Muslim, a Jew, a Christian, or any other faith, or if you think faith is for fools. It's how you use your beliefs to justify your actions that I care about. And what we're seeing now is that there are many in America who are adopting and adapting to fundamentalism. The outcome in this election wasn't about affordability or about real change. The winner is an open socialist, and the Democratic Party is now just that, socialistic. But be clear, this is a fictional fix for very real frustrations. An extreme suggestion of free everything that sounds great to those who feel cheated by the system because they are cheated by the system. But this is never going to happen. It makes sense that the left would want to match what beat them, if you think about it, a populist movement that's grounded in grievance. So now they're hatching their own kind of, if you can't beat them, join them move. Fueled by what? Outrage against Trump. He is the devil. Legitimate disgust at income inequality, a lack of affordability, especially in big cities, and the obvious and skewed outcomes in our society. And there is truth to the outrage, just like there was on the MAGA side. It does seem that the system helps the top, that there are two sets of rules, that the gaps only get bigger, and that everything that has been promised in the past by the establishment has failed. That's why the establishment or old guard or system or institutions are all being targeted. And I'm okay with that, depending on what, if anything, follows that's better, okay? And by the way, this as a device in politics is not new, and it works. The French Revolution was led by screams of kill the rich, and that was 1789. And the influences then were Marxist and communist, just like they are on the left today. So I will borrow from the French for a word for what this is. It's a revolt. That's what it is, a rejection of how things are done in that party and in this country. But that's not all it is. Here's what we've learned, my observation. A populist movement these days needs something else, something extreme. Pod bros play to conspiracies. Trump played to type, white fright, danced with evangels who wanted religious indoctrination with the state. Christmas is back, right? He otherized minorities. Build the wall, they're sending rapists. They are eating the dogs, they're eating the cats. Trans sports, the brown menace of migrants, bad hombres. So the left is now generating what I call its reaction formation to that, an equal opposite, a mirror image. What is that? It's an affinity for and appropriation of oppression of minorities. The same people that he targets, they champion. Islam hates us, we're for Islamists. Woke is not enough. Why? Too many are broke to focus on woke. Political correctness overcorrected. Canceling is passé, and certainly not extreme enough to match what they must muster to get a movement in the crowded, angry echo chamber. But to go full MAGA in the opposite direction, that seems to fit. And that's what we are living in this moment. Playing to how the poor are oppressed here and elsewhere has gotten traction, and it should. But that's why you see free everything. Anti-police, pro-Hamas, not even rejecting calls to globalize the intifada, outrage at ICE, embracing the anger of those rejected by MAGA. The latest, you see the violence, you see the murders. They're not angry jihadis, right? They're American men who have been disaffected and enraged and are now all too comfortable with an extreme reaction in advance of their policies, of politics. That's what it's about. That's extremism playing out in our ranks and being adopted by the left and the right fringe as well. But that's what it is, a battle of extremes. The latest, trying to make the regime in Iran a victim and insisting the bombing had to be a failure. Now, will this new iteration of the left work? I don't know. Trump certainly took the bait, right? He came at the winner here in New York City. That only helps them. And he didn't even mention Mayor Adams, who's supposed to be his guy, which is also telling about what the president values and is concerned about. So the better question is not if this movement will win an election or two, but whether it will create positive change. See, my big criticism of MAGA, and now it's what was the Democratic Party opposite, whatever they decide to call it, my problem is that they successfully take advantage of real angst, real pain, but they rarely deliver. We know many who signed up for MAGA, but they did not sign up for a lot that has come to pass. Groceries and gas and the economy and less foreign entanglements. None of that has worked out as promised, at least not yet. And I suspect we would see the same on the radical left. America will not go socialist or Islamist. Now, one good aspect with MAGA and the radical left and whatever they decide to call this movement, it's not for me to name it, we'll see. There should be change. The establishment should be attacked. But breaking disruption is easy and incomplete if there is not reformation or improvement. My pop always said, and he was a real Democrat, by the way. He was a real one. He didn't just piss off workers or minorities or underprivileged or target enemies, you know, and make you angry. He was not a demagogue. He was a Democrat. He fought to make real changes that were reasonable, and he did. He used to say, any jackass can kick down a barn, but it takes a lot more to build one. And that's what's missing on the fringe of both sides. They do not have the ideas or the execution to make things better. They just talk the talk. Where is the work of real immigration reform in this administration? Yes, the border is closed down, laws are being enforced, but you know we need legislation, right? I've had the head of the CBP. I've had Tom Homan, the ICE czar, here. What do they want? Rule changes and resources that take legislation. Where are the deals? It's not a coincidence on the left either. Bernie and AOC are the faces of this new movement. Now, I respect the senator and I respect the representative's passion. And they have both done well getting famous, but they have never made any change. It is odd that people who are so desperate for better, and they should be, are so often deceived by those who promise everything and deliver nothing. If only getting things done sold as well as burning things down. 6 years in office for AOC, almost 20 for Bernie, and almost nothing to show for it in terms of delivering on what they say they want. And why is that? Because we are a capitalist country, not a socialistic one, and never will be. And the majority does not embrace extremism, at least not yet. And I say that because every day extremism floods our coverage, floods our social media culture, was a big player in this election and in the last national one. The polls don't work anymore the way they used to. Social media is what drives turnout, and you can't measure it with a poll and samples the way they used to. Learn that lesson. Polls are just ways to advance narratives for the media. They are rarely predictive and certainly not more than a picture of a moment in time. Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.